Hi, my name is Tom and today I want to talk to you about the Black Promised filter from Tiffen. I have two versions of these. I have the 1/4 and the 1/2. Okay, so first of all, why do you need these filters? Are they even necessary? What do they even do? So if you think of cameras these days, they all have very high resolutions, produce a very sharp, clean image, and that's not always something you want in your movies. If you think of older Hollywood movies especially, and then you see like in the highlights lots of glow, lots of halation around lights, and everything has a more softer, more pleasing look that's not really like true to life, but it just gives you this feeling of cinematic. And I know this is a very overused term, but this is the best way I can describe it, like a filmic, more organic look that you don't really get with cameras these days. And these filters basically bring that back in a way. If you think of Hollywood movies even these days, most of them use like anamorphic lenses that have lots of flaws and are sometimes very old, like old Russian Lomo lenses from like 30, 40, 50 years ago sometimes. And it's not about the sharpest, cleanest image. It's more about getting back to that organic filmic feel that basically elevates your movie to something great. It's not everything, it's not the most important thing, but to me it's a very big part of getting a pleasing picture that instantly gives you that feel of this is a movie. So these filters aren't about an in-your-face look and telling you, oh wow, this person uses this filter and you can tell it right away. It's more about subconsciously giving the viewer the feel of that they are watching a movie, basically. If I'm filming Christian Bale with my phone right now, and if he were here right now and I would show that to another person on my phone, they would instantly think, oh, this is a movie because I see a very popular Hollywood actor. And this is basically all we're trying to do. We use black bars on top and bottom, even though we don't film in anamorphic, but it instantly tells the viewer, oh, this is a movie and not some internet video or some vlog. This is something more important, or more effort was put into it, basically. And this is the same thing with these filters. They're just another tool to get you a bit closer to a cinematic image, a cinematic feel. So you could probably see in those comparisons how the filter affects like light and skin and everything else. Like you have to keep in mind everything can reflect, not just water or metal or something else very reflective. It's also the skin, its leaves in the sun. Everything can glow and have a very extreme effect on the filter. And what you also have to keep in mind is that it really depends what camera you're using, what size the sensor is, and how far you're zoomed in with your lens. Everything has an effect on how strong or how weak the effect will look in your picture. But regardless of that, I'm going to show you a few more comparisons. You can see here the 1/4, the 1/2, and even without any filter, you can still see a bit of an effect. Like you don't really need these filters to produce glow. You can produce them in many different ways. It won't be as extreme, but you always have glow even without a filter. And there's even a way to like fake the look of these filters. You can use hairspray on like a simple glass filter and just spray it into the air and then just catch the drops with the filter. And if you do this a few times, you will have basically a Black Promise filter for nothing. And you basically don't need to spend so much money as I did. But obviously the effect won't be consistent. You don't know how strong it is, and you probably have to do it all over again after a few days or hours even, so I wouldn't really trust those. So what do I dislike about these filters? First of all, it's definitely the price. These filters aren't cheap. If you want a bigger size, like 82 millimeters, 77 millimeters, you will have to pay like $100, $200 for these. Like I had to pay in my country, in Germany, I had to pay 140 euros for the 1.5 in like the big size. The sun is coming out right now, so the light is probably changing, as you can see. Maybe I can show you the effect of the 1.5 right now. It's gonna be very extreme. Yeah, it's very extreme right now because the sun is overexposing the whole image right now. But yeah, this is basically the effect you're getting. Okay, back to the topic, the pricing. So if you want a big size, which I would recommend because you want to put them on all your filters, you can basically just use step down filters to put them on smaller lenses, then you will have to pay a bit of money. The version that gets used with matte boxes, like for bigger Hollywood productions, are even more expensive. So I wouldn't even look at those because they are way too expensive. They're like $400, $500 for just a piece of glass. So I would never pay that amount, I think. So yeah, you have to basically decide if that's worth it for you. For me, it definitely was. As you can see, the effect looked very cool even in the sun right there, even though the image is probably a bit overexposed right now. But yeah, you have to pay a lot for these. What also happens sometimes is those reflections you get when you have another piece of glass in front of your lens. That's basically uninventable because you just have, depending on the angle, always some reflections that you can't really get rid of. To me, it's not really a big problem because most of these problems are just problems that the filmmaker sees and not really the viewer who's either watching your movie and enjoying the movie, enjoying the story and everything else. And then he won't just critique a moment where you can see, oh, there's a reflection that I don't really like, this movie sucks. So it's not really a big problem. I wouldn't really call it an issue that you have to get around because it's also another effect maybe if you want to think about it this way. It's just a reflection sometimes that happens. Sometimes it looks cool, sometimes it doesn't really look cool, but in general it's not a big problem, I would say. Another thing that I already mentioned a few times is that your contrast gets lifted a bit, so everything, the blacks will all get pushed up a bit, so you have a bit more like a misty feel and less contrast, and that's just something you have to keep in mind. You can correct it fairly easily in the color correction, so it's also not really that big of a problem, just something you should always keep in mind. So if I would keep only one of these filters, the 1/4 or the 1/2, which one would I choose? That's tough to answer because it really depends on where you're filming, what camera you're using, as I already mentioned, and generally how the weather even is. Like on daylight shoots, I really prefer the 1.5. I know it's a very strong effect sometimes, but I just like it a lot. I love what it does to the skin. I love how the reflections look in the eyes, the skin, the hair, how everything just looks smooth and filmic in my opinion. If you have a lot of sun, yeah, there's gonna be lots of glow in the background and sometimes it will completely blow out the picture, but for my type of stuff, like for music videos, for short films, I can't get enough of this look and I'm already thinking of buying an even stronger version of it. So yeah, that's just my opinion. It's probably a bit too extreme for most people, but I just really, really like it. For night shots with lots of lights in the background, like street lights and city lights, I would actually prefer the 1/4 or maybe even go even lower with a 1/8 if I had one of those. But yeah, the 1.5 is probably too strong even for me for night shots because then the glow will be very extreme if you have lots of lights. Like if I would go through Las Vegas or New York at night, then yeah, this would just overtake the whole picture and you will just have lots of glow and you couldn't even see the people probably that you're wanting to film. So yeah, 1/4 or 1/8 for night shots with lots of lights in the background. Other than that, I actually prefer the 1.5. So that's basically all I wanted to say about these filters. I'm very happy that I bought them and I will continue to use them for future projects. And yeah, basically thank you to everyone who watched this far. This is the first review I did in English language. I'm from Germany, so this is a bit uncomfortable for me, and this is also the first video on my English speaking channel, so it will be quite awkward to release this video to like basically no audience. So if you made it this far and if you watched the whole video, then please consider subscribing and liking the video, so I will make more videos of these. I have lots of other filters that I want to test out during this pandemic. There's not much to do anyway. So yeah, thank you for watching and see you next time.